You know, usually when we talk about idols, there's this expectation of antiquity, I guess.
Right, yeah, like ancient history.
Exactly. You picture something straight out of an Indiana Jones movie like dusty ancient statues, crumbling stone temples in the middle of a jungle, or, maybe some forgotten artifact sitting behind glass in a museum.
Hmm.
It's just incredibly easy to point at a literal stone statue and say, well, there it is, that's a false god. That's what ancient, less enlightened people used to worship.
Yeah, because it safely contains the whole concept in the past, right? I mean, if idolatry is just ancient people bowing down to carved pieces of wood, it has absolutely nothing to do with us today.
Right. It's just a historical curiosity.
Exactly. A curiosity, not a present danger.
But so the text we're doing a deep dive into today, it completely shatters that museum glass. It holds up this spiritual mirror, and the reflection it forces you to look at is actually a bit
Oh,
startling.
for sure.
Because instead of looking at ancient statues, the source material asks you a much more uncomfortable question, which is, what is your own name truly associated with today?
Yeah, that hits close to home.
It really does. It forces you to examine whether the concept of an idol hasn't disappeared at all, but, just evolved into something much harder to spot.
And to get to that uncomfortable question, the author does something really effective. The text lays down this psychological foundation first.
Right.
It looks at how the human mind naturally uses shorthand to link a name to a very specific identity.
Hmm.
Because our brains are constantly creating instant associations just to, well, to save cognitive energy.
Yeah, the everyday examples the text gives really ground this idea. Like if I say the word Paris to you, your brain immediately flashes to the Eiffel Tower.
Right, instantly.
Or if I say Taipei, you might instantly picture the Taipei 101 building. The brain just skips the entire nuanced history of the city and goes straight to the most dominant symbol.
And if you move from geography into, say, the corporate world, the text brings up Taiwan and the technology sector.
Oh, right. This was a great example.
Yeah, because in the tech industry, Taiwan is heavily associated with TSMC,
Yeah.
the Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company. You mentioned that name, and practically everyone in the global supply chain instantly thinks of computer chips.
Yeah, it's automatic.
It is.
Yeah.
The association is immediate, and it's practically unbreakable because that company has become completely synonymous with that specific product.
Okay, let's unpack this. It's easy to see how a massive corporation like TSMC strategically builds that brand, right? I mean, they spend billions of dollars on marketing, infrastructure, PR, just to guarantee that when you hear their name, you think of computer chips.
Right, very intentional.
But the source takes this concept of a corporate brand and applies it to our spiritual identity. It argues that an individual's name, or even a local church's name, carries an identity that immediately springs to mind when people hear it. And that association can represent honorable things like faithfulness or wisdom, or shameful things like compromise and rebellion. But how does that happen on a personal level? We aren't corporations.
Yeah, we definitely don't have marketing budgets.
Right. So how do we accidentally build a spiritual association we never intended to build?
Well, that is the core tension the author is highlighting. A corporation builds a brand intentionally over decades, right? But individuals build their spiritual associations through the compounding invisible effect of their daily choices and affections.
Wow.
You don't just wake up one morning and decide, hey, I'm going to have my name associated with compromise today.
Yeah, nobody does that.
Exactly. It happens when what you actually value slowly, quietly drifts away from what you claim to value. Your name ultimately becomes synonymous with whatever commands your actual time, your trust, and your devotion.
And that happens entirely regardless of the pristine image you think you're projecting.
Completely regardless, yeah.
That slow, accidental drift is terrifying because it happens without anyone noticing until it's too late. And to see exactly how an entire culture can be tricked into rebranding their god without even realizing it, you have to look at the historical heart of this text.
Like the ancient history side of it.
Yeah, the author points us to ancient Samaria, specifically analyzing a single passage from the prophet Hosea.
Yeah, Hosea chapter 8, verse 6.
What does that one say again?
Well, the passage reads, and I'll just quote it here, "For from Israel is even this, the workman made it, therefore it is not God, but the calf of Samaria shall be broken in pieces."
Okay, so to understand why there is a literal golden calf sitting in Samaria in the first place, we have to look at the political climate of the northern tribes of Israel under King Jeroboam,
Jeroboam.
because he was a king with a massive political problem on his hands.
Oh, absolutely massive. Jeroboam was terrified of losing his grip on his citizens.
Mm.
The historical context here is that the nation of Israel had split into two kingdoms. Jeroboam ruled the north, but the center of worship, the temple, was down in Jerusalem, which was in the southern kingdom.
Right, enemy territory, basically.
Exactly. So Jeroboam calculated that if his people kept traveling down to Jerusalem to worship the Lord, their loyalty would eventually return to the southern king, and Jeroboam would lose his throne and, honestly, probably his life.
But why calves? Like, if he wanted to keep people in the north, why not just build a replica of the temple in Jerusalem? Why completely invent a new religion out of thin air?
Because of the psychological power of convenience.
Ah, convenience.
Yeah. Jeroboam didn't just want a substitute, he needed a frictionless substitute.
Ugh.
Traveling all the way to Jerusalem was a long, arduous, and frankly dangerous journey back then. So Jeroboam sets up two golden calves, one in Bethel and one in Dan.
Right on the borders, basically.
Yeah, he places them strategically so that nobody in his kingdom has to travel very far at all. He essentially tells the people, look, it's just too much for you to go all the way up to Jerusalem.
Oh, wow. He literally weaponizes their desire for comfort.
He weaponizes it completely. And then he commits the ultimate deception. He points to these golden statues and says, these are your gods, O Israel, who brought you up out of the land of Egypt.
He rewrites their spiritual history for his own political survival. He just slaps the name of the living God onto a chunk of metal.
What's fascinating here is the tragic irony of it all. The people actually fell for it.
They just accepted it.
They accepted it. They genuinely thought they were worshiping the God of their ancestors. But what they called worship was actually outright rebellion. Samaria's entire identity became tied to this man-made substitute rather than obedience to God's word.
It's like, okay, it's like taking a priceless family heirloom, trading it for a cheap plastic replica you made in your garage, and then treating the plastic replica as if it's the original heirloom.
That's a great way to put it.
You've stripped away all the actual power and history just to have something you can easily control.
Yeah, it's the ultimate bait and switch. And the text points out the absolute absurdity of the trap.
Yeah.
Hosea says, the workman made it, therefore it is not God.
Right.
I mean, think about the sheer irrationality of a human being carving something out of wood or molding it out of gold and then bowing down to the very thing they just created, asking it for protection.
It's wild.
It's just an object given religious meaning purely by human imagination. You can't speak, it can't see, hear, save, or guide anyone.
It's kind of like replacing a deeply complex, demanding, transformative human relationship with an AI chatbot.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That's a very modern way to look at it.
Right, because sure, the chatbot is always there on your phone. It always agrees with you. You don't have to travel anywhere to talk to it, and you can just turn it off when it asks too much of you. It is entirely manageable. But you've traded the transformative power of a real relationship for a synthetic imitation you can control. You've stripped away everything real just to have something convenient.
And that is the exact mechanism of idolatry. You trade the demanding, life-altering reality for a manageable, convenient substitute. And because the Israelites accepted that trade, Samaria became known for the calf.
That became their brand.
Exactly. When people in the ancient world thought of Samaria, they didn't think of a people who sought the Lord. The city's entire identity was swallowed whole by a substitute. The association was permanent.
But this isn't just an ancient political problem. The source makes a really sharp pivot here, moving from the historical kingdom of Israel directly into the modern body of Christ.
Yeah, this is where it gets challenging.
It really does. It takes this exact ancient trap substituting reality for a convenient imitation and applies it to how churches operate today. The author asks a very blunt question, which is, what does the world think of God's church today? Like when people hear the name of a local church, what is the instant association?
Well, the author draws a stark contrast between what that association should be and what it often actually is.
Right.
The ideal reputation, the authentic reality, is a community that seeks Jesus, loves his word, serves the broken, proclaims truth, and, actually reflects the character of Christ. That's the reality the church is supposed to embody.
But then there's the negative alternative.
Yeah, the modern substitute, which is a church that is viewed as merely another social club, an institution known primarily for its production values. The text warns about churches relying on impressive buildings, excellent programs, and incredibly talented musicians.
Wait, let me push back on this a little, because those aren't bad things, right?
No, not inherently.
I mean, nobody actively wants to attend a church with terrible music, zero community outreach programs, and a collapsing roof. Excellence shouldn't be a sin.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, excellence isn't the sin at all. Displacement is.
Displacement, okay.
The source isn't arguing that buildings or talented musicians are inherently evil. The warning is entirely about the center of gravity. If Jesus Christ is no longer the actual animating center of all those activities, a church can still carry his name on the sign outside while having entirely lost the reality of his presence inside.
The production becomes the point.
Exactly. It becomes exactly like ancient Samaria, claiming to worship God while actually bowing to a calf of their own making.
Isn't it incredibly easy for a church to confuse busyness or popularity with actual faithfulness? It seems like imitating the world to gain popularity is the modern equivalent of Jeroboam setting up convenient alternative worship sites.
That's spot on. Jeroboam knew that a shiny golden calf right in the neighborhood would draw a bigger crowd than a difficult trek to Jerusalem.
He lowered the barrier to entry by removing the sacrifice. And we see that same psychology at play today. There's this intense pressure to offer a frictionless, highly entertaining religious experience. But if the focus shifts to just gathering a crowd by being as agreeable and entertaining as possible, the institution itself becomes the idol.
Yeah, and people aren't encountering the living God at that point. They're just consuming a religious product designed by a modern workman.
Right, consumerism.
And that consumer mindset completely hollows out the reality of faith. The text is very clear on this. The church is not called to become popular by imitating the world. It is called to remain faithful to Christ. If the world associates a church's name only with its trendy coffee shop or its concert-quality lighting, rather than the transformative power of Jesus Christ, that church has suffered the exact same accidental rebranding as Samaria.
Which forces you to look in the mirror. The text doesn't let you hide behind a critique of ancient kings or modern megachurches.
No, it doesn't let you off the hook.
It really doesn't. It takes this massive historical concept of idolatry and narrows the focus right down to your personal daily life. You, the listener, have to ask yourself the exact same question. When people think of you as a believer, what actually comes to their mind? Do your words, your reactions, and your daily habits lead people to think about the Lord?
The source gets very specific here about the traits of Christ's character that believers are supposed to exhibit.
What's the list again?
It lists humility, love, honesty, patience, purity, forgiveness, and compassion. These are the markers of a life where Jesus is actually on the throne.
But then it contrasts those traits with what the world might actually associate with your name instead. When they hear your name, do they think of humility and purity, or do they immediately think of your career trajectory?
Yeah.
Do they think of your loud political opinions, your obsession with your possessions, your personal achievements, or just your relentless ambition?
And to understand why those specific things are so dangerous, the text provides a crucial redefinition of what an idol actually is. Because, as we established at the beginning, an idol is not a literal stone statue sitting in your living room today.
Right.
The author defines an idol as anything, absolutely anything, that receives the devotion, trust, affection, or obedience that rightly belongs to God.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because the list of modern idols the text provides is fascinating. They don't look sinister.
Not at all.
It explicitly mentions success, reputation, money, comfort, relationships, influence, and personal dreams. These are mostly inherently good things. Having a healthy relationship, a successful career, or a desire for a comfortable home are not evil desires. So how do they become idols?
They become idols when they take the ultimate position in your heart. That is the most insidious mechanism of modern idolatry.
It's quiet.
Very quiet. It's rarely a conscious, outright rejection of faith. It's a comfortable promotion of a good thing into an ultimate thing. It's the promotion you obsessed over to the point where it dictated your morality.
Oh, wow.
Or it's the comfortable lifestyle you absolutely refuse to sacrifice, even if you know you were called to be generous. It's the desperate need to be highly regarded in your social circle, which causes you to stay silent when you know you should speak up.
So if you are more stressed about losing your professional reputation than you are about losing your daily communion with Jesus, your reputation is your golden calf.
Exactly. You are bowing down to what people think of you.
If you find your ultimate security and peace of mind in your bank account balance rather than in God's provision, your money has become your calf. You've taken a good thing, given it ultimate power over your emotions and decisions, and traded the reality of God for something a human workman made.
You really have to audit your own reactions to see where your trust genuinely lies. If a threat to your personal dreams causes you to completely unravel and abandon your faith, it reveals that your personal dream was actually the God you were worshiping all along.
That's a heavy thought.
It is. It means Jesus was just the vehicle you were trying to use to get what you truly wanted.
That is a brutal realization. You might still call it worship, you might still go to church and sing the songs, just like the Israelites in Samaria did. They thought they were totally fine because they were still performing the religious ritual.
Right, they had the forms down.
But the reality of their devotion was completely captured by something else.
This raises an important question for you, the listener. You may have a prestigious title, a respected profession, a powerful family name, or a pristine public reputation.
Yeah.
But have those things become more important to you than being known simply as someone who belongs to Jesus?
Yeah.
If your identity is wrapped up in being the smartest person in the room or the wealthiest person in your family, you are cultivating an idol of your own name.
So what does this all mean? When we pull all these threads together, the full picture is incredibly challenging. We started with how the brain seamlessly links Paris to the Eiffel Tower and Taiwan to microchips. We saw how King Jeroboam permanently linked the ancient city of Samaria to a man-made golden calf because he weaponized convenience. And we've seen how modern churches and individual believers can fall into the exact same trap today, trading the demanding reality of following Christ for the comfortable management of a personal brand.
The core message of this text is that we must not allow our names to be associated with things that dishonor Christ. Our lives have to point beyond ourselves.
Right.
The ultimate goal isn't to build an impressive reputation around how successful, comfortable, or culturally relevant we are.
The goal, as the source beautifully puts it, is that the world sees the Christ of your name rather than the idol of your name. The goal is that people see your good works and the way you live your life, and they glorify your Father in heaven rather than just being impressed by you. It's about ensuring the reality of your daily life actually matches the label you claim to wear.
Which leaves us with a final, very practical thought to ponder on your own from this deep dive. We've seen how easily the ancient Israelites were tricked into believing a counterfeit religion was the real thing, simply because it removed the friction and offered them convenience.
It was easy.
So looking at your own life today, how can you systematically audit your daily routines, your anxieties, and your spending to ensure your ultimate devotion hasn't slowly, comfortably shifted from Jesus Christ to an idol of your own making?